My morning journaling practice is a really good barometer of where I'm at spiritually. What I mean by that is when I am in the flow, when I'm trusting, when I'm allowing things, when I'm in that sort of vortex of peace and allowing, I can let myself dive really deep into my journaling practice, and I produce quite a lot of words in my journals. On New Year's Day, I actually went to a hot spring. It's a ritual that I have, and there's a new hot spring in Victoria, and I went there and actually took my A4 journal and put it by the side of the pool, and I wrote, how many pages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6.5 pages on New Year's Day. And the reason I wanted to share that is because I think writing for me, particularly memoir, personal essays, creative writing, as opposed to journalism, takes letting go of judgment, takes letting go of other people's opinions, letting go of that inner editor. And Stephen King, famously said, write with the door closed, edit with the door open. And I think particularly when you are writing for publication, you tend to always have that reader at the front of your mind. And the reason that I think that this is kind of toxic and poisonous to the creative practice is because the good ideas don't come from there. The good ideas or the genius ideas, the innovation and unique, rare creativity comes from that part of us who isn't judging, isn't resisting, and is allowing those ideas to come. And when I say it's a barometer for me of my spiritual sort of level or consciousness, I mean, if I'm in a highly judgmental or angry or critical state, it's actually hard to write. And I can write angry lists or detailed letters, of complaint to a company or something like that. But I can't tune into the ideas and the creative expansion that wants to come forth, which is limitless, because it's a totally different consciousness. It's hard to put this in words, actually. And so with the journaling process that is in your course, in the Art of Memoir, one of the reasons that I recommend doing this, before you've even started the memoir itself, or if you are coming back to your memoir, if you've joined the Art of Memoir, after writing a draft and wanting to, revise it and bring it up to submission standard, I really recommend that you take yourself through, allow yourself 30 days of just doing the journaling practice before you even, produce any material that is going to be a chapter or a revision of your memoir, because you'll probably create it in your journals anyway. But you're not going to have that expectation of that. You're not going to be doing the journaling practice to specifically create something. What you are doing the journaling practice for is to let go of all of that resistance, all of those opinions, all of that inner editor stuff that comes up when we start thinking about publication. And I speak from my own experience. When I wrote my first memoir, I I was working as a freelance journalist. So I was working as a lifestyle journalist for newspaper outlets such as Body and Soul and Sunday Life and women's magazines, because they were still a thing. And I was pitching and securing feature article commissions. This was how I made my living. And I had to, write a certain amount of articles per month to make my living in that way. And so I was very, very conscious with every story that I wrote of who it would appeal to, who the audience was, the deadline that I needed to meet, the people that I needed to interview. Meeting a certain stylistic convention, writing in a certain style for that magazine or outlet. And, I would receive emails from the editor or the publisher or even readers of that outlet. So I was getting constant feedback that your writing is being read, that your work is being read. And most of the feedback I had was positive. These articles weren't, interrogations or investigative journalists. They were, journalism. They were things like psychology and well-being and even a little bit of spirituality and new age stuff. I wrote about, it was kind of that intersection. I think we called it new age in the 2000s, but it was really what we sort of consider. It's pretty mainstream now. Health and psychology and where that all overlaps with spiritual business. Things like getting to know ourselves and environmental influences such as feng shui, and how that can bring about material changes. I wrote a lot of lifestyle articles like that, even one about water and negative and positive ions and how they can affect your health and that sort of thing. And that's because that's an interest of mine. So anyway, the reason I'm telling you this, it is so weird just talking to this screen, but I'm going to keep it because I think it will be valuable. I want this to be a valuable use of my time and yours to watch the replay. So what I did, because that was how I was making my living, and maybe some of you watching this are making your living as professional writers, so you are actually writing for a newspaper or a digital outlet or a blog, and you're getting read regularly. And that can sort of unconsciously affect you and make you monitor what you express as you write. And it's only natural that it would, and that is really smart because, you're being objective. You are considering the reader, and that's what you need to do to get published. But to actually tap into something that has never been considered or created before or seen in yourself, I believe takes deep listening, and that can't come. It's very hard to listen to yourself and hear and feel into those things when you're in a crowded room or considering that you're in a crowded room. So what I did when I was writing my first memoir was I did a few things. I tried a few different ways, and I just saw how that felt and what my output was like in these certain ways. And I sort of settled into a habit where I would get my my freelance writing and pitching and articles written during the day, or like in a certain week. I'd block out a certain week for that paid work for publication. And then I would have 2 to 3 weeks where I could really sink into that timelessness, where I was just writing without any consideration that I was producing for publication, for anyone else's consideration but me. And a lot of this was journaling, and this came from my journaling practice. So I sort of extended my journaling practice, and that's why I'm saying it's a really good idea to start with the journaling practice inside the Art of Memoir, and that's why it is a foundational piece, because it helps you to allow yourself to write without thinking of limitations, such as, what will people think of this? What if that person doesn't like this? Who's going to read this? How does this matter to anyone? It doesn't even, it's not about that. And so it's about you. Like, I found this morning. It helps you to find your inner point of resistance. So this morning I was doing my journaling practice, and in my living situation at the moment, I don't have a dedicated writing space that I know won't be interrupted, because I'm in between houses at the moment. And this isn't ideal, but because I've been journaling for so long and writing in this way for so long, I can just move it around and even take my A4 notebook to the spa and write 6 pages. And I was even writing from the car, just pulling over in a car park and writing. And it's really freeing to be able to tap into your writing process in that way. But it takes removing the blocks, and it's almost like, I used to have a neighbour, well, I still have a neighbour, but he doesn't live there full time, who had this work of art near his front door. And it was someone putting on a mask or taking off a mask. It's a beautiful little painting. It's a very small flat that he lived in. And I said, oh, that's an interesting piece of art one day. And he was really into Eastern health philosophies and spiritual considerations, Zen, Buddhism. And he said to me, yeah, I have it there to remind me to put my mask on when it's that idea of putting a mask on when you're going out to the outside world and taking it off when you come home. And I thought, that's so interesting, because that's how I feel about writing. It's like, to write for publication, you need to put that objective mask on and train yourself to think like you are an editor, and you're considering millions of readers and what are they going to want from this bit, and have I met all of their needs and answered all their questions by the end of this article. But to really come home to myself, to do the writing and tap into a fountain of creative innovation and a story that has never been written before, whether it's a memoir or a fiction novel, it's a world that's never been created before. When you write a story, a script, anything, it is something that has never existed before. And that is pure creativity. That is magic to me. This is what endlessly inspires me about art and creativity. And to do that, you need to forget about the world. And so when I teach you this journaling practice that I've done, this is why I say 2 pages, A4, don't reread them. I have noticed that when I buy really fancy notebooks, I can't write. So it makes me too aware of someone picking that notebook up and wanting to open it. So this is kind of my attempt to be incognito. I just get these A4 Spirax notebooks, and I think, well, that just doesn't look exciting or glamorous. No one's going to pick that up and read that. Whatever you can do to feel safe, you need to feel safe to create freely. And then I also, I like to be on my own in a room. I find it very difficult to write in my journal if someone else is in the room with me. I can do it, but I find myself monitoring. Again, what if they lean over and look at what I've written? Okay. And, I've done it, but I have noticed that I write differently when someone else is in the room. And it's all these little inner and outer observations that you start to make and these connections that you make with yourself when you are doing this dedicated practice. And it's a really intimate, it's a beautiful way to get to know yourself, to be honest, and to know how you are at your most relaxed state. And it helps you find that point of resistance. So, for example, this morning I was journaling, and then